Hello preschool families. This video is mostly for parents. I had a request from a mom about how we make our sensory tables. So I'm here in the Learning Loft supply closet, full of all of our goodies, to give you some ideas on how you can make your own sensory table at home. So here is our sensory shelf. It's full of all the stuff that we use as a sensory table base. Now, what would a sensory table base be? Well, it's just materials that you can really dig your hands into that have different feels and textures and weights and sizes. So some things you might have at home that you could use for a sensory table would be something like shredded paper. This one has some salt, sugar cubes, some oats. Some of these oats have been painted with food coloring or watercolor paint. We also use things like beans. There's some lentils in there. Here's some coffee beans. Ground coffee can also be used as a base for a sensory bin. Here's some rice mixed with beans that's been dyed with food coloring or watercolor. Even things like this is like wood chips, more sand, dry pasta, or if you want, you can even cook the pasta if you want something squishy. You could use dirt, you could use grass. Really anything can be made as a base for your sensory bin. Now let's talk about containers. You need something to put your sensory bin in. Some of the great things are these plastic shoe boxes from the dollar store. Those are great. You could use a basket or even a bowl or even just a cardboard box or anything that will hold the base material that you're going to use for your sensory bin. Now for my sensory bins, I like to have a theme. And the theme of my sensory bin usually has to do with what the students are interested in at the moment. So it could be dinosaurs or planets or bugs or even letters or shapes. I'm sure that your kids have some toys laying around that you could use for the sensory table, maybe something they're really into. Little plastic figures are great. We've got a bunch of those back here. There's little plastic animal figures. We've got little letters. Pieces of foam puzzles that you might have are great in water sensory bins. If you want to add water and a little food coloring and maybe a little glitter, that's a great base for a sensory table. But you definitely want to have your base and then something to put in it. And it's good to combine materials too. Maybe some scoops, some spoons, some cups. Preschoolers love, as I'm sure you know, to scoop and pour and put things into other things to make little categories and to sort. So that is also some great stuff to put in your sensory bin. So here at the Learning Loft, we have these plastic tubs that we use for sensory bins if we want big ones. You could even use a bathtub. It's basically the same thing. Like, see, this one had sea creatures in it and boats. And I'm sure it was also filled with some water and some blue watercolor paint or food coloring, maybe a little glitter. And that's really all you need. And sensory bins are something that can keep a kid occupied for a very long time. So I definitely recommend that you give it a try. Here's another great example of a sensory bin in the Den classroom where they just have some buggies, some superheroes, and then in their plastic tub as their base, they're going to put some slime, and it looks like some jewels. Now, this might not be stuff that you have lying around the house like slime and jewels, or maybe you do. Maybe your kid is a slime and jewels kind of kid. Really, you just want to think about the things that your kids love interacting with and using that. I had a student one year who really just loved to play with soap and water. So his mom made him a sensory bin full of soap, water, some blue food coloring, and then just some little figures and toys that they had around the house, and some measuring cups. And he would play in that for hours. So it's really just about thinking of your child, using what's available, and using your imagination. I hope this was helpful to you guys in kind of brainstorming in your head and thinking about what kind of sensory bins you might want to create at home for your littles. And yeah, I hope you just have a good time and a lot of fun, and be sure to take some pictures and share them on Brightwheel. That would be great. And yeah, let me know if there's anything else you guys want to know about. Thanks.